Welcome to a BXG podcast, BXG Productions. I am one of your hosts, Alpha Donut Guy, Brent Beswick, alongside my co-host, Gregory T. Filson, and the T stands for tinsel during this holiday season. Greg, how are you? How are you tonight?
Doing okay. Just did
Some whippets?
oh boy. No, 2 hours and 20 minutes of being in church today for school. So that was fun. Yeah.
Okay.
70-minute mass and 70-minute confessions for the class. So
Wow, 70
yep,
minutes worth of confessions.
yep.
All right.
3 classrooms. So it was a lot. I didn't have to confess. I don't sin, so I don't have to worry about that.
You're living in sin, some would say.
Legally, no.
Right.
I don't know. I
I
actually
don't
don't know, but
I don't know either.
it's also drinking a beer right when I said that. So
Right. Yeah. And we make so many jokes about cocaine. Anyway, um so we've got some TV shows to review tonight, and that'll be, of course, very interesting, but excuse me, one interesting thing that's been going on around the internet and the media cycle this week is, or this week, last week, is these lists, these end of
yes,
the year lists. And it's really got me thinking about these lists and how bad they are.
I think. Well, I didn't know if you were going in another direction there for a
No,
second, but uh, it'd be fun to do a list of the list, like the best list listed. And so far, and this is something I've been doing. I decided today I was going to do this. Uh, I look at the Pitchfork 100 songs, which is one of those things where, like, I don't like Pitchfork. I don't really think anyone does. I think
I don't
it's one
even
of
know
those
what
publications.
Pitchfork is.
It rates music for them, for
Oh, okay.
those out there. And it's known to be kind of like, we have to be better than everyone else by picking things no one's ever heard of. They're
The
kind of
most
known for that.
trusted voice in music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
uh, there'll be an album everyone loves, and then they're like 4.1 out of 10. They'll just do that, and it's just hilarious. It's one of those things they're known for. So I said today, I am going to try to listen to every single song on this list within the next, like, how many days. Not, I can't obviously do all 100 in one day. I could, but it'd be a lot. So far I'm through 20 of the songs, and of course there's some people I've already listened to, so I'm not re-listening to those. I have to.
Sure.
uh, Two so far are good. One
Mhm.
is, I would say, undeniably a great song. I would say it also is just kind of in my wheelhouse, and I'm going to mention it during my media recommendation, so I don't want to, like, spoil that now. A little cliffhanger, will keep you on for the rest of the show kind of thing.
Mhm.
I would honestly say, of the other 18, 9 are something that I could have on in the background, wouldn't actively listen to,
Mhm.
and the other 9, bad. Flat out. Not just that they're not for me, because we've talked about that, where sometimes things just aren't for you, and there are some things that just are not for me or for
Mhm.
you, or
Mhm.
whatever. The King's Yins, not for everyone. That's There are 2 songs in the top 10, and I'm going to bring it up real fast because I have to remember what this, that are spoken word songs. Spoken word top 10 songs of the year.
Mhm.
I don't know how that works. Where isn't the idea of a song to sing? I just, or like, the idea of like having something going on. So that really bugged me. One is Beyonce. And I've talked about my own personal feelings on that album being boring. I think it's boring. I still think it's boring, and I just can't get over it. And when I put something up about it, nobody clapped back at me saying that it wasn't boring. Beyonce, Alien Superstar, she is talking in that song. That's the one. But I'll do you one better. This song, let me make sure I have the right one. Destroyer is the band, and then it's called June, is awful. It's their number 2 song. It's spoken word to like a really weird beat. Number 2.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts me because it hurt me physically. It hurt me physically that this was the number 2 song. Now, Rosalia is on there. Rosalia is fine. You know, she's does this great. You know, it's upbeat. It's fun. Bad Bunny's 9. We've talked about Bad Bunny before.
Right.
The one I was going to say. 1975 makes it. That album's actually okay. Pretty okay. Kendrick Lamar makes the top 20. I'm not going to go through everything. But what I have noticed in general and going through these lists, I think people kind of just like boring music now. I don't think being like poppy is in vogue when it comes to lists. Now, I think obviously people in the great scheme of things, as it was by Harry Styles, the 100 ranked song by Pitchfork was the most downloaded song in the world ever. It's the most streamed song ever in the history of time in a year on Spotify. I know it doesn't necessarily mean anything but still it matters to some degree. So that's what I'll say. Movie lists have been bad. We saw, we've talked about like Top Gun not making lists.
Oh yeah, I'm actually I'm on movie. I'm on Rolling Stone's top 22 movies of 2022, and I'll just give you the top 5. No Bears, never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
Till, never heard of it. Seems like it's about Emmett Till. Okay. 3, Decision to Leave. We did a trailer reaction for that. It looked interesting, but we haven't seen it. 2, Lingui, The Sacred Bones.
Got nothing for you there.
Foreign film, maybe. Number 1, Hit the Road. Also seems to be
Don't you come back no more.
Probably seems to be a foreign film.
Decision just to Leave bangers.
I mean, Decision to Leave is a foreign film. We just happened to do something with it. Benediction, number 6. After Sun, number 7. The Banshees of Inisherin, which we also did a reaction for that one. Athena, number 9. Number 10, Fire of Love. So I'm on 2 right now. 11, Tar, with a accent mark over it. 12, RRR or Triple R. I don't know. It's a Bollywood thing or whatever. Tollywood. Supposed to be good. I've heard of it just recently. Official Competition was number 13. Saint Omer, number 14. 15, The
About Omar Vizquel?
No, it's Omer, not Omar.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. 15 is The Fablemans, which we have talked about. So that's another one that I've heard of. 16 is X. 17 is Living. 18 is Prey. Okay.
That movie is a good movie.
It's not okay.
I'm just saying good.
We'll come back to that. 5 I've heard of. 19 32 Sounds. 20 Happening. 21 Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I really want to see that. Actually, I just haven't gone around to it.
It's very good. Yeah.
So that's 6, and then 22 Crimes of the Future. So 22 movies, the 22 allegedly best movies of this year, this calendar season, from January till now. And I've heard of 6 of them. Really 5.5. I would say Triple R is like a half because I've just heard of it because it's
I
coming up on these lists.
Yeah, I think that I was gonna say that was like Triple R. I don't think I heard of until list.
Now I know that
Uh,
when you and I were having this conversation, you said that you had heard of more of these, but let's talk about that for a
mm,
second. You live in, I mean, it's not, but for all intents and purposes, for the general viewing purpose, public, you live in LA. I know you
well,
live
we
like what,
have
like an
the
hour north or something like that.
what I will say is that we have an international film festival here.
Right.
Like big actors. I've been in the presence of Penelope Cruz and you know
Yeah.
uh, Florence Pugh,
Some others. Right.
a lot of other people.
Yeah.
It
Well,
as like a thing to go see them. Not
right.
if I actually was just at the bookstore and Florence Pugh came in, that'd be something else. But
So, but you have access to some of these
yeah,
sort of
I can
more
go and see
foreign
these people.
films or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
We don't have that.
There isn't the
It
Grove
the
City International Film Festival yet.
No, there's nothing
The Joseph,
in Butler, Pennsylvania. There's
the
nothing
Biff.
in Sharon,
There should be though.
Pennsylvania. There's not those things. And so
The
I think
Butler
that that's
International Film
where
Festival.
I think that's where Rolling Stone misses the point with this.
Right.
Who is this list for?
I can't remember if the name of this movie is exact. It was like Drive My Car. Is that right?
I've heard of
We
that.
it was like the Asian, I can't remember. I think it was Japanese movie from last year.
Oh, last year.
Supposed to be very, very good. Essentially, like a lot of people had it ranked as the best movie of the year.
Yeah, Drive My
And
Car.
you tried to watch it
Yeah, it's
and
4 hours long.
couldn't.
I made it 10 minutes.
It's 4 hours long. I did not try to watch it because it was 4 hours long, and I
It
just can't.
was, well, we had that conversation
Yeah,
recently, how certain things should just be, this is how long you are, and you don't get more than that. And like I said, no movie should ever be 3 hours long, over 3 hours long. No movie should ever be over 3 hours long. That's just not respecting the viewer's time. And the other thing about that particular movie was I watched maybe between 10 and 20 minutes of it. And you want to talk about, I know that I give you kind of like, I jab at you a little bit because sometimes your feedback for a lot of things is, well, nothing happened. But I'm going to tell you what, the first 20 minutes of this movie, nothing happened. There was a lot
there's
of
a lot
just
of
like,
that going on. I think more or
there's
less
just
now.
a lot of like people.
And this
There's
is
a lot of
based
people
off one of
being on a
yeah.
bed, just like, do you think this?
This is based off of one of my favorite writers, Haruki Murakami's book. And I love him, but there are certain things that are books that should never necessarily be made into something else because of that. Like he has this book, it's an absolute tome called 1Q84. If that turned into a movie, it would be bad. Like I just know it would be bad because it's 1,100 pages. It's like 4 different storylines happening at once, and it's exactly what you're talking about, Brendan. There's a thing that works with books that doesn't work with movies sometimes, and it's the development of nothing happening, but you're reading about it. When you're reading about nothing happening, there's a difference. When you are just watching it, it's literally the idea of watching paint dry. It's crazy. I think there is a trend of just trying to be too cool for the room with every list.
Yeah.
Because you could argue it's just like Top Gun's the best movie of the year.
It's not.
What I'm saying though, there's the argument that could be made. It made the most money. Everyone fucking saw it. Everyone pretty much agreed they liked it. It's like that's the idea of it. It's just the general scheme of like everyone saw this movie. A lot of people saw it twice, and pretty much everyone liked it. I mean, that's kind of. I'm not saying that it's technically the best movie. This is not a Scorsese picture. But what I'm saying is there's that idea of like, there has to be a thing where like the public should have a little bit more influence, I think, on things like that. Like I said, as it was, Harry Styles, not even my probably third or fourth favorite song on that album. But if you're looking at a single, which we don't even really live in like a culture where that should matter because radio doesn't matter. it's not even on that, but it has like a gazillion downloads. It's ridiculous the downloads it has, and it's a song that pretty much everyone knows. Whether you even know like Harry Styles or know the song, you kind of know the song. So that's where I think things have gone a little awry. We're like, let's pick the number one song is by a band called Always, where the W's two V's and not a W. And the song is Belinda Says. I will say this song, it's a good song. I like this song. To say this is the best song that came out that this year is insane because literally no one's heard this song. I would have never found this. And I know Pitchfork's trying to get you to listen to go outside your box and things like that, but you also have to have an idea of like what is actually good. I would have loved to see these lists in like the 70s with all the bands that we all love. And then for them to pick a band that like now when no one's ever heard of, like this was the best song ever. Like Fleetwood Mac has a song, you know, let me just Rolling Stones have a song, Led Zeppelin all have a song, Queen, they all have songs that year, and then it's a band that literally no one's ever heard, and everyone's like, well, technically this song. And when the Archies, Janie just said to me, the Archies have the best song of the year. Yeah, Sugar Sugar. And that's the thing that like happened. I mean, I could talk about lists forever. It's honestly, lists are my favorite thing in the world. I know a lot of people that hate lists because of like they hate them because like they don't matter. I like it because they don't matter, but I also love it because it doesn't matter in the sense of I like getting angry about it. It's like the Academy Awards. Ultimately, the Academy Awards don't matter, but for anyone that's ever been in the room with me, when I watch it, I get more mad about that than I do watching sports.
I have thought about this. I've thought about this recently, and I think these lists trigger it because, well, and what the Grammy nominations came out, and that was a fucking that was a joke.
That I mean,
it was. The Grammys, this is why I think the Emmys do it best, is that with movies, they pick what's technically best, but not the most popular. With music in the Grammys, they pick the thing that's the most popular, but not the most, like, technically this was the best thing. Right? Whereas the Emmys usually do a pretty good job in each of the categories, picking things that they are technically the best, but they're also the most popular, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I think that, and I don't know if it's just something about the small screen versus the big screen or whatever, maybe the less goes into it. Maybe on a base level, people can understand things that are of a higher quality on television versus of a higher quality at the cinema. But, and I sent you the message that of all the lists that I've looked at, and they don't do music, but TV and movie for the best shows, because I saw Rolling Stone's best shows list, and it was egregious as well. But IGN actually have the best movie and best TV shows listed that I agreed with. They did a top 5. The best movies was Nope. It was Nope, Triple R, Everywhere, or Everything Everywhere All at Once, Top Gun, and The Batman. And guess what? Those were the 5 best movies this year.
Some way, shape, or form.
Not, some foreign film about an Indian lady stacking matchsticks. Was shot beautifully look at the lighting. Well, look at the freaking lighting while Batman is like walking through a flame.
Hey, that lighting. In Top Gun, they made up a game. They made up a football game where both sides are on offense and defense at the same time.
Not really as impressed by that, but the TV series,
and they're all shirtless in jeans. It's great.
The TV series, top TV series for from IGN were House of Dragon, Better Call Saul, and/or Severance and The Bear.
Yep.
And Yes, agree.
Good job. You did your job well.
Good job just
We'll
picking
ring that bell.
obvious things. Yeah, whatever. I don't know. It's frustrating.
I love it. I
It's
mean, but I
like
think
you're
that's the thing too. If they actually picked, with the music thing, if they actually were just like Harry Styles 1, Taylor Swift 2, Bad Bunny 3, Rosalia 4,
Bad Bunny
and
sucks. Like I don't want to hear that. Get that
well,
away from me.
the thing I'm going to say about
It's
Bad Bunny,
that's a joke.
no. What I'm going to say about Bad Bunny, Brenton, not for us. The guy absolutely crushes on tour, like literally million. He has the highest grossing tour of the year. Not
Good.
for us.
His music's not good.
Well, what I'll say about his music,
Is that it's not
every
good.
song is exactly the same.
Yeah, so it's not good. Basically,
So
what you're saying is it's not good.
And not for me.
Sounds like you're saying it's not good. I'm going to interpret it that way, and we can move on.
We can move on.
I think that when we put together the BXG awards, you will see pretty comprehensive lists. You'll get a top 4 in each category as we see it. Will the best picture be the unbearable weight of massive talent? Yes, it will. It will
or it could be the Weird Al giving.
Could be the Weird Al movie. It's not going to be. It's going to be Nick Cage starring as Nick Cage.
Could be the Batman.
Could be. Probably won't. I'm just saying. Sneak peek, little BTS behind the scenes. All right, let's move on to. We have some TV stuff to review this week, and the first of those is the first episode of our. I would say it's our favorite web series, but it's literally the only web series that I watch.
And also, friend of the program.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's
PBC. That. PBC season 2. There's a lot to like here. Ricky's gonna spill the tea. Oh, he'll spill the tea.
He'll spill the tea.
Sarah and Hunter, aren't they? That classic office romance. Meanwhile, we're introduced to the sales team, and they are all appropriately douchey. Yeah. Oh yeah. Sherry O'Terry. The Kings Barstow are back. And it looks like our friend Sarah, friend of the program, Jessica Surflom, is looking like she's getting a promotion there at the end of the episode. And so
time to get ice cream.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was one of the longer episodes of the show, going back to the first season. But stem to stern, what did you think about episode 1 of PBC?
Okay. This show, and good for them doing what they're doing. This should be on a network television show. I understand like what they're doing is important, being on a series like this and then broadcasting through YouTube.
Yeah.
This show is as funny as anything really out there. I mean, I would say Abbott Elementary is my favorite show right now. The show's almost there. I mean, it's really, really funny. The guy at the very beginning having the Telsa.
Jamie.
I'm dying when Jamie is talking about it and how he has to speak to it, and and he gets in and it traps him.
Yeah,
it's hilarious. Like that's just high comedy. And then, like you said, they have their whole little thing, like the will they or won't they? When Sarah goes full Elizabeth Holmes, I was done because we watched that series and it was she nailed it. And I messaged Jessica. I was just like, you went full Elizabeth Holmes, and she told me that they weren't even going to do that until like day of. They just thought, let's do it. Let's go full Elizabeth Holmes.
Ooh, I think the show is great. Insider access.
Yeah. I mean, friend of the program. I think we'll try to get her on here. Maybe I think we'll see season end, not series end, season end. We'll see if we can get her on. But no, it's just so funny, and it just doesn't quit. Like you said, this was one of the longer episodes, I didn't care. This is one of the first times where I was just like, this show still makes me laugh all the
Yeah.
way, you know,
Mhm.
and it's just, it's good to have something like this. I think for the most part, it's going to release on, is it,
Tuesdays
it's a
and Fridays.
Friday
Tuesdays and
schedule.
Friday. Yeah. Tuesday and Friday.
So I like that. I do like that. I think the rest of the episodes, from what we've heard from her, is they're not going to be as long. Like, I think it's going to be pretty much normal what it was last year, which was like 19-20 minutes, which is great. I mean, we've talked about that before, but man, the show just, I can't, I really just don't think I've enjoyed something like this where like I had nothing, I had no idea. Like Abbott Elementary, I got into late because everyone was talking about this. You just found this show. You're saying like, let's watch it because of Danny Trejo.
Right. I found it
And then
just on Danny Trejo's Twitter.
and then it just turns out to be
Yeah.
really, really funny.
Yeah.
Like truly great.
I thought that the season itself and the episode itself, starting with Kate Flannery with a samurai sword just overhead screaming, was the perfect way to reintroduce this into our sphere. But excuse me, bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that. Throughout the whole episode, I thought that they did a really good job of reestablishing each character and their identity. So we get Sarah, and she's kind of this sort of, the mousy kind of go-getter. And then Hunter's got his gambling addiction, playing Connect Four for money. The other, snap, crackle, and pop. I'm gonna get yelled at. I have to IMDb it. I want to apologize to everybody involved. Michaela.
Yeah.
Michaela and her like ultra feminism. The most powerful thing a woman has is her voice. And then we get down into the low optics. You have the IT guys being completely useless. You have Dave with his like kids just drawing in crayon on the side of his office wall and him acting like it's the best thing. So I think that they did a good job of reintroducing the characters, but not hitting you over the head with it.
Right.
And also advancing the story. So there were plenty of funny moments. There were plenty of good stingers. I thought that probably the funniest moment of the episode was Danny Trejo getting very emotional over fine dining and saying, you do it for love, and they leave you.
Yeah. I've been married 4 times.
I've been married 4 times. And I like that was kind of, I think, the big stinger for me in this episode. But I would say too, it goes back to actually how we found this show in the first place was Danny Trejo randomly shows up in the Book of Boba Fett. And we have the discussion of Danny Trejo makes everything he's in better. Like there's nothing he's ever been in that value over replacement actor, any substitute actor improves that over Danny Trejo. So just him doing this is, I think, number one, really awesome. And number two, but that's how we had that conversation. And I was like, I'm going to check out Danny Trejo's Twitter and see what he's up to. And then we found this. So
there you go.
Overall, I think great episode, great start to the second season. You can kind of see where the different tendrils are going as far as where the story may wind up. But very excited to see more. Happy Jamie found his way out of the Telsa.
Thanks for nothing. I saw you guys getting lunch.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, very good. Looking forward to the next episode, which will be the day this publishes. So there's that.
Well, 2 episodes to review for the next week's pod.
Yeah. We'll have Friday and Tuesdays. So moving on. Willow. We move on to Willow, the Disney Plus series based on the 1980s film written by George Lucas, directed by Ron Howard, starring Warwick Davis, Val Kilmer, and Joanne Whaley, among others. That was that movie from, 1988,
I believe, right?
Yep, won an Oscar, was nominated for 11 Oscars.
Wow.
Let me see here. Maybe it wasn't.
That George Lucas could write things.
Well, never mind. No. It was best effects, sound effects, editing, best effects, visual effects, Oscar. And then it won best costumes at the Saturn Award.
Oh, that's cool.
I was nominated for best dramatic presentation at the Hugo Awards, which are big.
Yeah.
This is funny. Best dramatic presentation award nominee at the Hugo Awards, worst screenplay at the Razzie Awards.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's your.
Maybe not a good writer.
Yeah, there's your Willow history. Is Pinocchio? This is just a complete aside. Is Pinocchio on Netflix now?
It might be. I didn't check. I haven't been on
Guillermo,
Netflix today.
Guillermo del Toro. It's total aside because we're not talking about Pinocchio, and we're not talking about the 1988 film Willow. Nah, not yet. It would appear for Pinocchio, because I would say that probably would be in the top 10. This damn Hagen and Mary, Hagen and Megan, Hagen and Mary, yeah, that's their names, isn't it?
Yep.
Megan and Harry.
Megan and
Harry. So
their things on Netflix or Hulu.
Yeah,
or something.
It's who the fuck cares? Willow series, Disney Plus, based on the 1988 film of the same name, starring Ruby Cruz, Ellie Bomber, Erin Kellyman, better known as Delonte West Girl. Tony
could actually be his daughter too. Honestly,
probably not.
He got around.
Tony Rev Olori, which is of course Flash from the Spider-Man Homecoming movies, or the home movies.
Yes.
And then Warwick Davis returns as Willow Ufgood, the sorcerer. So you had previously had no familiarity with the movie, and we were behind on this a little bit because they did a double release and we just didn't have enough time to review it in one chunk last week. So this is a review of episodes 1 through 3 tonight.
Yes.
So thoughts?
Okay. So I had texted you, and this was like right as I started it, where I was just like, I'm kind of over this genre, and it has nothing to do with this particular show. It was just like, holy cow, like knights stuff, magic,
fantasy,
kind of fantasy. But there's other fantasy, so I was just like, I like this particular type of fantasy.
Oh, there's other fantasies, all right.
Exactly. And and so I was like not stoked on it. I just wasn't. It had nothing to do with this. I had told you in a thing where I thought this could be the best of the three we were talking about, which is
in our trailer reaction.
Yeah, in our trailer reaction, the Lord of the Rings series, Power of the Rings, the Game of Thrones, House of Dragons, and then this. And I thought this could be the best three. And honestly, after watching all three, and I'm glad, in a way, I'm kind of glad we did this, because I think if I had watched the first one and then there's like a week delay or something like that, and I'm not sure if I would have stuck. The first one, I'll say the first episode is pretty boring. It just, it's a lot of trying to like set up stuff, and there seems to be a lot of filler. The second episode, about halfway through, when Willow is like, we're doing this trip, we're going on a journey, got me going. And from really that point on, that midway point in the second episode, and in the entire third episode, the show really got me hooked.
Mhm.
The second episode I was getting the first episode I was kind of in and out, like it just wasn't getting, and I didn't feel like I missed anything. And then I read a review of the first episode, just the first episode, and it honestly felt exactly the same. I didn't miss anything,
Mhm.
nothing spoiled. It was one of those things. Once they went on that journey, and all the way to the third episode, I was fully locked in on, and thought was really good. I thought the story building was really good. It was also the shortest of the episodes,
Mhm.
which also told me that maybe like, and I know you're not really thinking about this when you're doing this, but that idea where you and I have talked about trimming fat off of episodes and
Yeah.
how trimming 2 or 3 minutes off may not seem like a lot, but when you're watching something,
Mhm.
especially when you have, this is an 8 episode series, I believe.
Yep.
Uh, 2 or 3 minutes every episode means a lot. I mean, it really does. You're talking almost 20, up to 24, 25 minutes of stuff that just doesn't need to matter. And this one, I would say the third episode was definitely the best. Felt like the fat was
Mhm.
all trimmed and now like interested in the storyline and left you on like a pretty decent like cliff. And I thought this was a solid episode. I think there's another thing too where it seems like without even thinking about it, I care more about it in a way. Like I care more about the characters
Mhm.
because in Lord of the Rings, in Power of the Rings, we know everything and none of this matters. And
Yeah,
even though
for
we
the
know
most part,
everything
yeah.
with House of Dragons,
Mhm.
and I did care a little bit more. There are some characters where I just didn't care about. This one, I feel like everyone seems to have almost like an equal space for even though it's Willow and he is obviously the main focus of this, or the main character, everyone seems to matter. Even smaller roles seem to have a part, and I think that's kind of cool. And the acting, I think, is really good so far. Aaron Kellyman, we had talked about. I said to you, she's in everything, any
Yeah.
sci-fi, fantasy, whatever. She's in everything. This is her best thing she's done. She absolutely, I think, kills it in this. I think she's really, really good. She kind of stands out, not just because she has like vibrant red hair, but I think she's also just very, very good in this. So for me, right now it seems like it's ascending, and it just feels like a really good. And I like the idea that it's 8 episodes. I think that really makes me feel good about it too now, because I was nothing against it, just where we were at with it. I left the third episode like, oh, this is going to be good. I could be right with my prediction. Could be right. Could be.
I would say the one thing that we talked about, and I think that it is relevant, is that this is going to suffer a little bit of just like genre fatigue having come so having debuted so quickly after the conclusion of Lord of the Rings and House of Dragons. And I think that might hurt its appeal a little bit. There might be some people who are like, okay, I already finished these 2 series. I'm kind of out on this genre. Let me go check something else out. But excuse me. I think that there's some really good points. And then I think that there are some definite flaws. And I think that the action set pieces so far, like all the fighting scenes and stuff like that, are all pretty well done.
Mhm.
As far as they're engaging, you know what I mean? And I think that,
You can also see them. I know that sounds weird, but you can see what's going on. And in a lot of shows, sometimes you just can't see stuff that's going on now with TV. I mean, there was the thing about some of the shows being so black you couldn't see things. I know you necessarily didn't have that problem, but that was like a problem that other people had. It's not a problem with this show.
I think that when it comes to the combat sequences that we've seen in the first episode, not as much in the second, and then pretty heavily in the third, I think because this is a Disney show and they can't be as like brutal as
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, you're not going to see one of these characters chop somebody's head off in the middle of their head and then you just see like
No.
brains in their tongue and stuff. Right. So I think that what that does is it forces them to be a little bit more creative, maybe with the choreography of those fights, to make them stand out a little bit more and make them more interesting. And so far, I think that they've done a pretty good job with that. I like the different choices in weapons. I like that
Yes.
the character of Borman has just like this giant cleaver instead of like a sword. He's just got this big ass cleaver.
It's so cool.
I like that. I like that the Jade, Aaron Kellyman's character, can put her sword like into the sheath and make it almost like a halberd. Like
Yeah.
that was interesting. And just some of the other things that we've seen, like Flash Gordon, not Flash Gordon. Graydon, his character is more like, okay, I'm just going to use more like daggers. I was upset. I was upset at one of the casualties that occurred in the third episode. In that big fight, I didn't really like that. Willow's kind of sidekick.
Oh yeah.
That was a bummer. It was a necessary bummer, I guess, because it forced him to use his magic. I really, from where I sit, I like all the characters, and this is a problem because I don't like what I perceive to be the two main characters. Because I think that even though it's called Willow, and Willow is a very important piece to this puzzle, I don't necessarily think that I don't see, at least through these 3 episodes, Warwick Davis' character as being like the primary protagonist. I think that would be obviously Laura Dannon, the true Empress or whatever,
Sure,
and then
yeah.
played by Ellie Bomber, and then Ruby Cruz's Kit, who is the princess, and she is the character that Val Kilmer plays in the film, his daughter. And so I do think that they're trying to give her a little bit of that character's same sort of like maybe a little bit over the top self-confidence, but I just find how like her put downs towards the Allura character to be like too much, to the point where they're almost like grating a little bit. And then I don't really care. The Allura character is supposed to be this amazing magician. She's got all this magic in her, yada, yada, yada. And she seems, it's like a step beyond sort of the damsel in distress who's not yet discovered her true powers, because she's almost at times like comedic foil for the rest of the cast. And I feel like if you're building this character to be this ultimate, hero at the end, which is I feel like that's where they're taking this. I just don't know if you want her to be the one that gets like is the punchline of all the jokes. I think that that's what the Graydon character's there for, and they do kind of beat him up with comedy a little bit, but I think that he's so like bumbling and useless in a hand-to-hand fight. He's obviously like the smart guy of the group, right?
Right.
And I think that they can kind of pick on him for being sort of a weakling or whatever, but I feel like he's your comedic punching bag. And then I feel like the Boorman character too kind of should be a little bit of comic relief, because he is what myself and some of my friends used to refer to in video games as a dumb and tough, where it's like he's got no, like if you lay out, the Final Fantasy stats, it's like all strength, no intelligence. That's him. He's just like a big, dumb, tough guy. And so I think that you can kind of take some shots at him in a comedic lane as well. But overall, the first episode, I almost texted you and said, I don't know if I want to watch this.
Sure. Right. That's what I was saying.
I'm not sure. It's off to a real slow start. I did think the battle sequence in when the bad guys came and they're all like freaking mutated looking and stuff, come to the castle and everybody's got to fight and what have you, that was pretty cool, but the rest of the episode kind of left a lot to be desired. And then the second episode kind of picked up, especially from a story progression. And then the third episode, like you had said, I agree with, was I feel like we're pointing in a good direction. And I felt like that episode was just pretty good in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Interested to see more. I feel like part of me wants to go back and watch the movie. It is the special effects don't hold up. It was made in 1988. You know what I mean? There's no
Another thing would be Star
there's
Wars.
no CGI. There's no green screen. It's just like whatever. But it's a good movie, and like I said, written by George Lucas, directed by Ron Howard, starring Val Kilmer. There's some 80s heavy hitters in there. I
Yeah,
mean, I
yeah.
know I listen, I understand it's no James Cameron masterpiece.
Few things are.
Few things are in this world. He's great at sequels, you know.
He's the best
Alien,
ever at them, right?
right? Yep, best ever at sequels, all time great. Doesn't it say something that you miss on the first one? Let's not get into it.
We could.
That man.
I'll meet you. I'll tell you what, Brandon. We'll meet halfway. We'll meet in Kansas City. We'll go see Avatar 2 together. We'll go to a Chiefs game, just take an Arrowhead, see what that's like.
I've been.
Grab some barbecue.
I've been to Kansas City. And it's fine. But
did you have some barbecue there?
Not, yeah, sure. Not to see Avatar. I wouldn't do that.
No, I would not. I'm not going to go 2 miles down the road to see Avatar.
So. Yeah, look for our review on Avatar 2: The Way of Water when it is streaming on Disney Plus.
Maybe.
Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yes. But
Willow is in a good spot.
So far, so good right now.
So far, so good. But consider this for just a moment. Had this been a film sequel instead of a series sequel, I mean, you got to get Cameron. He's great at sequels.
That's it. There's no other director. There's only one director that can do this.
Sequels.
Yeah, according to him.
Right. Well, yeah. There's only one director who can direct Avatar.
Yeah, there's
you only have to train someone because no one else has ever directed a movie that's primarily green screen and CGI graphics. No one.
And it took this long because it's so thick with plot.
Right.
Even though the first one is just Dances with Wolves and Fern Gully.
Moving on. Willow. Chainsaw Man. A man that uses chainsaws to cut down trees, not to be confused with the axe used by the University of Northern Arizona lumberjacks to fell trees. In this episode, we kind of see the remnants of the battle between the nail guy and the rest of the team. Eye Patch Girl is gone. She's dead, whatever. And then someone manages to rip the cord on Denji's chainsaw, cord ripper thing. And so him and Nail Guy have a pretty good battle for a while. And then Nail Guy just fucking cuts him in half.
Sure.
Just, okay.
Yeah.
So then we cut to the train where the lone gunmen on the grassy knoll, well, they weren't lone gunmen, there was 3 of them, tapped Makima in the head along with her buddy. And they're like, okay, we're going to split up. And then it cuts to behind them and she's just standing there. And then the train shows up and all the regular people run out of there because she has gone totally just Christmas ham on these guys.
So crazy. Yeah.
So then she rounds up 30 prisoners with either a life sentence or worse, takes them to a high altitude pagoda and uses them to transfer deaths onto the people who have killed Denji and are now trying to get away with them. And basically what she does is she puts her hands together and then she spins them around and she squashes them. And when she does that, and the guy, one of the criminals, says the name of one of these people, they explode into just a ball of blood and so on. And she takes care of mostly everybody until the crying barrette girl comes to save Denji, well, half of Denji, because he's cut in half, from the little girl in the pink coat, and Nail Man turned back into regular man, cuts his arm off. And that's kind of the end of the episode. She's like cradling his dead half cut body, and that whole thing, that old chest.
It was wild times.
Yeah, pretty wild times.
That's basically it. I said to you, it was like, I was kind of I watched it, I think maybe within minutes of it coming out, just the way my schedule worked out for it. Because I was itching for it, because I was like, I need a little nonsense, sensical nonsense. There is some plot to this, but for the most part, it's I think we kind of knew it was going to be a crazy ass episode, and indeed it was.
Yeah.
Tip the tail. This thing was just insane. And it was so fast. It was like a 17-minute episode when you take out the credits too. And so it happened and it was done. And I was like, oh my God, what an episode. I probably should have watched it again, because I literally watched it. I was like, kind of the recap brought me back to life. But yeah, it's so weird, because I had messaged you about something. If the writing or the story or whatever is good enough, even if I don't care about something, I can get into something. I can.
Yeah, you were talking about Willow.
Right, I was talking about Willow, and this is one of those things where, you mentioned it to me. I knew it was crazy. I knew my friend Anthony, friend of the program, Anthony, liked this a lot, and I was like, well, I'll give it a shot. It's like one of those things. If it's bad, it's bad, but it's also 17 minutes of my day, or 19, I think at most.
Yeah.
But it's a very enjoyable, because it feels, in a way, it's almost cathartic in a sense, because it's so fast and it's so anxiety inducing in a way, and then also just bzz, 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 done.
Yeah.
And that's it. And there's a plot. For sure there's a plot, but you don't have to worry about it having a plot either to enjoy it, because it is just bzz, 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 bzz. I do wish the intro was shorter. The intro song.
Yeah, it's
2 minutes and 15 seconds or something.
Yeah.
I think if I remember. And or Hulu just needs to put a skip song instead of me having to do
skip
the
intro.
thing.
They usually have that on a lot of.
They don't have it on this. Yeah, it's so weird, but they don't have it on this. And but other than that, I mean, the show is just, it's honestly the definition of balls to the wall crazy, which I like.
I think that what I like about it is that, and I've said this before on some other episode reviews, that it really respects the viewer time. There's no filler. There is none of that Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, just standing and screaming at each other stuff that they do in those shoes they do in those shows that kind of extend and draw out the episodes to then extend and draw out the seasons. I think that it respects the viewer's time, and I think that it also does a good job of it. The plot, we're to the point where the first couple episodes were just okay, you're a devil hunter, you're going on a mission. Okay.
Yeah.
And we kind of introduced the team. Okay. And now we've introduced the team. We've learned the backstory of some of these other characters like Aki and Eye Patch and Power and Denji and Makima and so on. And so then you begin to kind of bond with those characters. And whereas in a show like Naruto, those characters are now with you for the next 250 episodes. But with this show, they kill them 2 episodes later. And I like that feeling of almost danger. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with Denji. I feel like he's going to be okay. The show is named Chainsaw Man.
Right.
Not squish people to death magically girl. And so I feel like he's going to be okay. But this is 2 episodes in a row where we're left on the cliffhanger of, well, how's he going to get out of this? And so it is interesting. And it is, I think the plot goes in ways that are fascinating and not predictable.
Great.
And I like that. And so what started out as just this sort of enjoyable nonsense of just blood and guts and over the top sexuality and stuff like that has actually evolved into a very interesting, compelling, and comprehensive layered plot. And I'm really digging it. And I thought that this episode hit on all those points and, delivered the action. It delivered the intrigue. And like I said, we'll see how things go. I wonder if it slows down, because this is what, episode 8. I think this is a 13 episode season, I believe. So there's only 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Well, there's 5 more episodes. I feel like we're due for a catch your breath episode a little bit.
Yes.
But we'll see how that shakes out. So, Chainsaw Man. Ooh. Media recommendations.
Okay. So Triangle of Sadness, Janie and I watched this week. We actually you can just buy it or rent it for like $4 or something on Amazon right now. We did that instead of going to the movie theater, because it was like it was like a director Q&A at the end of it, and it ended up being like $20 a person. And that maybe sounds cheap, but like $40 is $40, and I don't care about director Q&A.
Right.
I just don't, unless it's like
James Cameron.
Chris Nolan. Oh yeah, if it's James Cameron, and be like, which rib did you have removed? That'd be my first question. So it's really good. It has like, I wouldn't say like the twists are not necessarily like unpredictable, but they're fun twists. Sure. And then it's a laugh riot in the middle.
Good.
Oh my gosh, it's great. And then to my music, White Lotus season finale happens this weekend. If you haven't watched season 2, don't worry about season 1. You don't have to. They're like separate things. Jennifer Coolidge is in both, but don't worry about that. Catch up on season 2 of The White Lotus. This show is unbelievably good. If you can there's no college football on Saturday other than Army Navy. Go Navy for me on that personal side note, but that's just for funsies. I don't really care. I just like watching the jerseys. But it's so good. It is unbelievably good. There's so many good TV shows just this year, I feel like.
Yeah.
And then music wise,
depending on what list you look at.
Depending on what list you look at. Music wise for me, and I have another TV show, but I'm saving it because it's actually bad good and not, or good bad, however you want to look at it. Music wise for me, Paramore The News got released today. I just like Paramore. The song's just Paramore. If you like Paramore, you'll like the song. If you don't like Paramore, I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things. Okay. So music wise, Pusha T, I've mentioned Pusha T a lot. My actual favorite song is Diet Coke off that album. Ethel Cain was introduced to me because of the Pitchfork list. Her song, or actually they song is American Teenager. Just trying to be respecting. American Teenager, a fantastic song. Can't recommend it highly enough. Absolutely amazing. And then I mentioned this song before, but I was just happy it made the list. Dead, DEHD, Bad Love. Absolutely great song. Absolutely great song. And then finally for me, American Light Fight. It's terrible, but I like watching it. I don't know why. It's just these hillbilly families from everywhere, whether it's Pasadena or Florida or Tennessee. And just the light shows are insane. Brenton, you.
God of War.
God of War.
I went.
How many hours is that supposed to take? I like saying
it. Excuse me. If you just play the storyline and beat it like that, it's like 25. But if you want to do everything, it's probably like 40 or 50. So
I was like hoping you're gonna say like 100 if you just do everything. So no, do it 100.
No, it's probably like 40 or 50. And
what's the longest game you've ever played, Brenton?
Well, that's relative because like you play like massively multiplayer online games, those just never end. So
okay, that should be like ones that do end. I know we're dipping into the other thing with Charles. Sorry, Charles.
Yeah, well, no,
that's also the Game Awards are happening. I forgot to mention.
I think they're done. They're over.
But they were happening today. So you're gonna.
Yeah, we're gonna have an episode on that on probably Monday.
Make sure everybody knew that.
From Software. I'm just like looking. I've been kind of looking back and forth at it as we've been recording, but probably Red Dead Redemption 2 is the first thing
Okay.
that comes to mind. I think I put a lot of time into, I think Dragon Quest 7 or 8 was like a really long one, but yeah, I mean, it just kind of depends on the game. Like, what is the longest game that I've ever played that you can actually play start to finish and there's a definitive ending? I would say Red Dead 2. I
What
put
about the
probably
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game because it's unbeatable, and so you have to just keep going?
oh yeah, that one. Yeah, I mean, whatever.
Did you ever beat it, by the way?
I and I beat it using state saves on the Nintendo
Oh, okay,
the
but that doesn't
Nintendo
count.
Wii, which is cheating. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you don't cheat, you never
Right.
beat it, right?
No,
Because you can't do it.
no. It's well, I'll tell you what. There's like a guy named Arcus does speed runs with it, and
That sounds
check him
insane.
out. Check him out.
He's got to be
YouTube.
on some another level of coke that we're not using here at the BXG.
I'll send you a link.
Okay.
Just to wrap up real quick, YouTube, BXG Productions, Substack, the Nexus of the Universe, Twitter, BXG Prods, Instagram, BXG Prods every Friday at 9 a.m. And then
New Substack on list this weekend coming at you.